sure you've all brought a lot of experience with you. Please feel free to use the chat box throughout the session or to put your hand up to speak. Sarah, Beth and I will be on hand to take you off mute if needed, to make sure that your question is answered and read it out from the chat box. So Neil, without further ado, it's over to you.
My camera, right, so can everybody see me?
Yes.
Right, hi everyone, I'm Neil Morris. I'm the community lead and trustee of a small charity called Westward 2015, based roughly junctions 35, 36 on the M1. Our charitable objective is to stop social exclusion. I've been around communities for over 30 years. So I just thought I'd talk a bit about how to connect, and then I'll respond some of the questions about how we've worked in the pandemic. So my first point would be that anyone reaching out to the communities, you need to go out, you need to reach out, respond to local need in your community. And the way that I've always done that is through running engagement activities, taster activities that are fun, friendly, they generate you a presence. And I think importantly, they are based on quality, not on quantity. That then lets your passion, your purpose shine through. And I think another one is to be generous in spirit. Lots of giveaways, free tea, coffee, biscuits, whatever. It generates that warmth atmosphere. The second thing I think is, of anybody who's working in communities and reaching out, is give of yourself. The best bit of advice I was given many years ago was treat others as you want to be treated, but don't expect anything back. If you do get anything back, then it's a bonus. And that really has been my key in establishing relationships in the communities I've worked in. And I've developed educational projects from scratch, with nothing happening in an area. I was the first worker in. And I think establishing trust is important, and not being a soft touch. Often people come into communities and they're seen as an asset and they get dumped on. And I think sometimes you need to take a step back. I also think be a giver, not a taker. And more importantly, I think have that can-do attitude. And then thirdly, I think walk with the wise, or stroll where there is synergy. Share your passion, your purpose, and develop that into a positive partnership with people. I think displaying positivity, you will surround yourself with people who complement you and don't want to duplicate you. And I really believe that there's a real power in these positive relationships. Two or more people or organizations working together can see things differently. Obstacles, in my opinion, become opportunities. But this needs organizations to invest into relationships. We're on a journey with people. That establishing, that connecting doesn't happen overnight. And if you think about us as individuals, everything that we've done, everybody we've connected with, we're a product of somebody else's time, their skills, their value set. People have invested into us, and I'm a great passionate believer of the cascade principle. And again, I think the other thing is about working wisely in developing relationships. Sometimes you've got to say that, I'm a great believer in the agape love, unconditional love, but sometimes you have to say that's not for me. If people are negative in nature, nobody wants to walk with them. It's those who develop that synergy with you. So I think there's a lot of time in developing relations. Another point would be always go with what's in your heart. That purpose, that passion, that will shine through. So I think be a builder of relationships. Just don't seek them out. And as I finish on how to connect, I think for me, the spirit of mutuality. Relationships are built on trust, that shared energy again, working for that common purpose. They make a positive difference in the communities we work in. And I saw some of the chat things. How did we connect as an organisation? We're only 2 years old. We came out of a previous organisation. We went online within 10 days. We had very little funding, very little money, but an awesome group of volunteers and trustees. We worked together. We're a very flat organisation, quite a lot of experience. So we just went online. We sent activity packs out to all the people. We developed our technological capacity. I had to learn to teach again using PowerPoint and Zoom. We made stuff happen. And I think the other thing, somebody asked about cooking. We'd received some funding to run a program called Shoestrings, which we were going to run in a gathered environment. So what we did, we refocused totally. We got a chef facilitator to train ourselves to film and talk. So we did videos that we posted on YouTube, and we did outreach work online, and we worked through a local farm shop who delivered food boxes, veggie boxes. The chef made a recipe, and we engaged 42 people in 3 courses, and we had the funding to make that happen. So I think that's about me done. I'll gladly answer any questions at the end, but it's short, snapping, and I know I've only got 10 minutes, so I can talk for Ingo, so I'll finish there. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Neil. That was great. And I think you're completely right. Where you are positive in your outlook and in what you're doing as a group or as a school, it makes it so much easier to make connections with other groups or schools because that positivity rubs off. So Hayley, over to you. Just a minute, Hayley, while we take you off mute.
I actually don't know if I do have the power to take you off mute.
Oh.
Wait, let me go down the participants. Just trying to do... No,
Can you unmute yourself,
yeah.
Hayley?
Little microphone button. Where it says leave, there's 2 buttons. 2 buttons in.
While we work out how to take you off mute, let's see if we can get Helen in.
Okay, can you see me and hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Helen.
Okay. Do you want me to go first, or?
Is that okay?
Yeah, of course it is. Of course
Thank
it
you.
is. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for having me. My name is Helen Butler. I am a volunteer in a large part of my life. I'm a volunteer parish priest in Mirfield, but I'm also a allotment holder. I'm also a chair of governors at a local school, and I run a business which is involved in school improvement. And I've been involved in schools for about 35 years. So my bit, if you like, is entitled Making Connections with Schools for Collaboration, because I'm absolutely aware of the tightness of resources, shall we say, around schools, and also the quality and the breadth that community groups and other organisations can bring to enhance what school has to offer. So schools are always part of a community. They are a community, they can reach out to communities, but they are enhanced by being involved with communities. So it's really important that you do get involved with your local schools, and that if you are representing a school today, that you actually think about your place in the community and what you can do for the community and what the community can do for you. So there's 5 things that I want to mention in my quick talk. The first is, a bit like Neil, look for opportunities. That's the first thing. The second thing is think about doing some stakeholder mapping, and I'll explain that a little bit more in a minute. The third one is to foster those positive relationships, and there's some things that if you want to foster a positive relationship with schools, you perhaps need to be quite specific about how you go about that, and I'll explain a few things there if that might help. The next thing is to be professional. Even if you're a volunteer, there are things you can do that communicate a professional approach. And the last one is to do what I would call work together for a win-win outcome, an outcome that benefits the school and an outcome that benefits your organisation as well. Okay, so the first thing I'm just going to talk about is fostering those positive relationships. Always, it's never ever wasted, and Mary will tell you this, make friends and influence people. You never know when you're going to need them, but it's really important that you get out there and you actually make contact with people, and you can do that by any means possible. Schools, particularly at this time of COVID, will prefer you actually to contact them by letter, by telephone, by email, or even by Facebook messaging or other social media. It's probably better to do that than to go out and knock on their doors, because they're not admitting people from outside at this moment into their schools. So yeah, do make contact and contact them in lots of different ways, and keep contacting them. Look up key people, look on Google, look on the school's website, so that you can make your approach a personal one, and you can address your message or correspondence to a key individual. It could be that if you're, for example, if you're a community allotment holder, and I've noticed that in the chat somebody is, well then have a look on the school website and see if there's a person in charge of environmental studies, or somebody who's running the forest school, or an after-school club on gardening. Those will be the people, the named people, that you should be addressing your correspondence to, because they're the ones that are going to do something about it when you contact the school. So make it personal. Never overpromise what you can contribute. Always keep it realistic. So don't say, you know, oh, we could help you convert the whole of your field into, you know, a profit-making crop, because obviously that's never going to happen. But, you know, we could actually come and advise you about how to plant cabbages. Might be, you know, a much easier thing, but it would be something that a school would really value. If you want to do something at a school, then the school will always have to plan it in. So you're going to have to be clear about your dates that you can come, the timescales that you can be involved with the school with, and you need to stick to those. Because if you say I'm going to come on Tuesday and you forget and come on Wednesday, it might be that the person you want to meet can't see you then. It's not that they don't want to, it's just that everything in school is planned in. Consider asking for feedback. So if you make a contact with the school and make some suggestions and they don't take you up on it, get back to them and say, well, obviously you didn't care for those suggestions. Is there anything else that we could do for you? So that's really important. If you're wanting to work with schools in a long-term basis, consider joining the governing body. Many schools need school governors on their governing board. I'm the chair of governors at a school, and we're really fortunate we've got a full governing body, but I've worked in many schools and they are very short of governors. You can be a community governor or you can be a co-opted governor. You can only be a parent governor, obviously, if you've got children at the school. You could be a community governor, you could be a co-opted governor, or you could even be a local authority governor. There's lots of different ways you can get into that. So investigate that if you want a long-term relationship with your local school. So that's fostering positive relationships. The second thing is be professional. Have a plan of what you'd like to do and a reason for making contact with the school. Don't just ring up and say, hey, you know, I'm from your local church, I just want to say hi. Ring up with a purpose or with a reason or with something that you'd like to explore. Be prepared to undertake any safeguarding requirements that the school asks of you. Generally, that is if you're going to be working face-to-face with children or young people or vulnerable adults, you'll need to have a DBS check. You probably would have to go or undertake some training, or unless you've done it in another capacity. And you might have to sign in and sign out of the school. These are all sort of ordinary things that people are asked to do. You're not being picked out for any special treatment. But if you say no, you won't, then I'm afraid you probably won't be admitted. All schools at this moment in time are adhering to COVID safety regulations and safety measures. So it's really, really important that if they ask you to come at a certain time or use a certain entrance or to use hand sanitizer or wear a mask or meet outside, that you agree to do all those things. If you say you're going to do something, one of the things that schools will expect you to do if you're acting in a professional manner is to follow through any agreed actions that you've said you will do. And again, that'll be because there'll be more than one person involved. So it's important that if you say you're going to do something, you actually do it. And that you keep in touch with the school or the key person at the school, and you maintain those channels of communication so that if you need to change anything, if you need to add to anything, or you need to come back to them, then you can do. Be punctual, and of course you'll have to follow inclusive equality and diversity practices, because all schools do that. My third thing is look for opportunities. And Neil's talked a little bit about this, but which schools already share your values and how can you connect with these? And I picked out the values statement, because all schools will have a value statement on their website. This is the one from the school where I'm the chair of governors. So our school values are that children feel safe, secure and happy within a caring ethos and a climate of mutual trust, and that the school encourages a pride in personal contribution, that children are treated as individuals and are allowed to progress at their own level in a stimulating environment. Children are challenged, encouraged to experiment and to learn through first-hand experience. And the last one is that there is no fear of failure. So, you know, if that's very similar to the sorts of activities that you're planning or the projects that you want the children to get involved with, you can actually cross-reference with those values and say, look, we're fitting in with how you work. The next thing is, which of these schools share your aims? How can you join up? How can you actually match what you're trying to do with what they're trying to do? And I'll talk about that in a minute. Which schools already work with your target demographic? So if you're looking to work with under fives, then you're better off going to talk to play schools and preschools rather than a secondary school. It's quite obvious, is that. Which schools do you already have personal links to? That's a really good starting point. If your grandchildren go there, or your neighbours' children go there, or your husband's the chair of governors, or your daughter's a teacher there, work with those ones first. Go for the quick wins. Now, in terms of stakeholder mapping, your organisation might want to think about who's got a vested interest in you succeeding. And the schools will be thinking about who's got a vested interest in us succeeding. So you will be one of their stakeholders if you are an organisation which is in their catchment area. So have a double check to see, you know, if I live in Mirfield, so if I was trying to get schools in Mirfield involved, I'd have a better chance of doing that than trying to get a school in Dewsbury involved, just because it's a different town. So who am I mandated to work with? Okay, so it's kind of looking at your constitution, your contract, your funding restrictions, and trying to hone it down. Who would I be better sort of addressing my approaches to? And then which schools do you need to connect with? There are play schools, nurseries, primary schools, secondary schools, and special schools, probably all very close to where you are. Have a think about which ones would be the best ones for you to go and work with. And then would some consultation be useful with your local school? Ask them how your organisation, ask them, how can my organisation help your pupils and families? Just ask for an opinion. They might have something that they'd be really glad for you to work on with them. Okay. And then the last bit is that issue of working together for a win-win outcome. That means I win as a community person and the schools win because they're involving working with you. I suggest if you're serious about working with a local school that you actually research what the school's priorities are. You can do that by looking them up on the Ofsted website. That's the Office for Standards in Education, Ofsted. If you just type Ofsted and then you'll get to their website and you can type in your postcode and you can look up to see what the school's priorities are, because there'll be a report on each school. An easier way is to look on the school's website because it will tell you what the school's working on. Look in the local news, look on local forums, talk to people about, what's the schools do, do they have gardens, do they have a big sports team, what the ground's like, where are they situated, and then think about their actual constituency. If you're wanting to work with primary age children, then your work needs to be focused on a child-friendly level, and you need to probably be involving families because obviously primary school children cannot come on their own, they need to come with their families. And then to make that work, you've got to think about the times of the day that you're holding activities. Are they being held in the school holidays, and other things we're offering done in a fun and friendly way. And have a look to see whether your agendas align or where you can align your agendas. Currently, you're probably aware that key school priorities across the whole of Britain, doesn't matter where you are in Britain, the key school priorities are currently, after a long period of working at home and doing remote learning, are catch up. So key skills in literacy and numeracy. So anything that involves reading, writing, talking, counting, doing maths is fantastic. So baking clubs, gardening clubs, DIY things, social action, anything, performance, music, even sport can include elements of those key skills. Another key priority for schools is mental health and well-being, confidence building, and social skills development, because those little children have been far apart from each other for such a long time. So mental health and well-being is obviously really, really key, and anything you can do to get children together and do things cooperatively will just be brilliant. So thank you for that. Anybody got any questions about schools? I'm sure I'll be able to answer them, but I'll stop now. Okay.
Thanks, Helen. That was amazing. Lots of tips and fantastic ideas there. So I'm going to hand over to Hayley now, if that's okay.
Hi everybody. Yeah, my name's Hayley. I think I've unmuted myself now. Has that worked? Yeah? Wow. I'm just going to try and share a screen with you. I've prepared a PowerPoint presentation, so I'll just see if I can do this. Yep, can everybody see that? Can somebody give me a thumbs up?
Yeah, got it, thank you.
Oh, lovely. Right, so Get Up and Grow promotes and supports the health and well-being of the local community through social horticultural therapy, regardless of age and ability. So basically, we were set up probably 2 years and 2 months ago, and this is why Get Up and Grow was formed. So it was something about, this is how we connected with people in our local community, because we were passionate about what we did. We wanted to work locally. We wanted to give something back to the local community, and we wanted to share the skills and knowledge that we had around green care and conservation and environmental things. And we wanted to support people to take control of their own lives, to improve their own health and well-being, and to try and make a difference and to bring the community together. So it was set up Get Up and Grow, and we trained with the leading social and therapeutic horticulturist, which is Thrive in Reading, and they've been going for quite a number of years now, and they are the leads in social and therapeutic horticulture. So for me, it sums it all up. It's not just about gardening. It makes you feel better, it improves your health and well-being, it helps people make friends, it can lead to qualifications or a job, and it's physical. And I think connecting with communities, I think everybody can do it through gardening or through cooking food or through anything. It's about bringing communities together, so I think it connects people together. Now, another thing that I think potential gardening activities can be for health, it can also be for relaxation, and it can also be for eating and celebration food. So people can come together, and it can be adapted with people's interests and abilities. Some people might just want to sit there in a garden and just relax. So there's something there for everybody to enjoy. So some of the projects that we've done historically are, we've worked in partnership with people. So we've worked in Rochdale and Oldham. So we worked on a fast grant with Dr. Kershaw's, which is people with cancer. We've done some small projects with Ambition for Ageing, which is about social inclusion and older people. We've done some work with people with dementia. We've done some stuff in Oldham, which is Thriving Communities, which is again for socially isolated people. We've worked with the Co-op College and the Co-op Museum, which is all about working collaboratively. And these are all things that we did before lockdown, before the COVID. We also were awarded some funding with Greater Manchester Walking Festival, which was to do some walks in our local parks, which was a lovely project, but obviously we went into lockdown, so things had to change and we had to adapt. We were also awarded some money from the WEA, which is the European Social Funding, which was to work with adults with learning disabilities, doing a small gardening course, a short one. And I met Sarah because we wanted to get into doing intergenerational projects. It was about bringing different groups together. So this is what I felt was going to be important, working with older people and younger people and bringing them together. And that would be how to connect people together going forward through the pandemic for me. So we're also awarded Social Action Fund money. So we diversified what we offered during COVID-19, and we did like houseplant subscriptions to people who were isolated, who couldn't get out, which was really quite nice to be able to change and adapt, because we are just a small micro organisation, we're not that big. So here's, I'll just show you this picture. So this is the Willows Dementia Hub in Rochdale. These are some of the things that we've done there with people suffering with dementia. It was about connecting people from the community into the actual dementia hub and working together with people with dementia and the community about celebrating and bringing people together. And what we did with this project was everybody sat down, we did the session, and at summer fairs we'd sell the produce that we made, and you know, it was just a lovely project really. And then this is another picture of what we've done when we were delivering the houseplants to the community, which was nice. And this is something else that we did when we were the Greater Manchester Walking Festival, because we were no longer able to deliver the project face to face. We then diversified and we came up with these, which are just some little activity sheets that people could do together or on their own. So this was just one of 6, which was quite nice really, to be able to offer something and give free resources. So this was passed to all local schools, anybody in the community. I put them on my website page, and I just shared them with anybody that I could do really, because I thought they were a great resource just to help with everybody during the pandemic and to bring people together. So just want to talk about futuristic projects that we were able to go. We've just been awarded some funding to go forward near neighbourhoods, which was doing something again with the dementia, the Willows. And we've also been awarded something with Rochdale Borough Wide Housing, which is connecting people to nature. And we've also been successful in another bid for the WEA, which is working with adults with learning disabilities again. Because like I said before, we diversified the project from delivering face-to-face to doing activity packs, which was providing a meaningful activity for people to still participate and have a purpose and do something active in the community still. We're also looking at the social prescribing in Rochdale. And I've also been working closely with Kickstart, the Community Catalyst, which is setting up some online sessions, which has been really quite nice actually. And we're just trying to fit into the school's Fit, Feed and Read summer project for 2021. So we're doing a joint project, well, working together in partnership with the Co-op Museum in Rochdale. So it's all about connecting, building on the network of people that you've got around you and just bouncing ideas from each other, because obviously working on your own and in social isolation, it's been quite difficult for everybody, I imagine. So it's about making use of everybody's skills and putting people forward. And I think my last slide is this. So that's me, and are there any questions? Now I hope I can close this and go back. Oh, is everybody there?
You should have a bit to press that says stop sharing on Teams rather than on the PowerPoint.
You'll have to open Teams up again as a browser.
Oh.
Don't worry, Hayley, it's all fine. I just wanted to thank you, Hayley, for that, because it was a great reminder of how something like growing can be such a good connector for both other groups to get involved and support what you're doing, but also for individuals in the community to get involved. So it was really interesting to hear that perspective. We're going to open up for everyone to ask questions if you so wish. And they can be either directed to one of the speakers or just a general question for the group. And it doesn't have to be that one of the speakers answers it. If you feel that you've got something to say on one of the questions, then please do pop your hand up to speak. Hayley, we'll just leave your thingy up there. Don't worry about it. I'll look in the background, see if I can disappear it.
Oh, it's disappeared for me.
Oh, has it? It's still on mine.
Oh.
So please do put any questions in the chat. And I had one given to me earlier. Let me just find it. Okay, and this might actually be a good one for you, Helen. You did speak about how to look for what the school's priorities are, but one of the questions was, how would I find out what interests, or in particular like awards that a school might have or be working on that might support the person to connect with them? So for example, the example was, if you're a growing group, is it good to look for an eco school, for example?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of ways to do that. I mean, the first thing to do is to look on the school website. Every school has a website now. They're actually judged by Ofsted on the quality of their websites. So there will be a school website. So type the school's name and address into Google, look up the website, and you'll be able to see from that what the types of activities. There'll be a curriculum page, there'll be an after school clubs page, there'll be some awards written up there, and if you're not sure, ring up just the school's general number and just say, look, I'm from this group, we're just wondering whether the schools would be interested in an eco, in some kind of environmental project. Who is the person that would be best to speak to about that, and get that person's name and email address and just email them. Don't feel worried about approaching a school. They will they are always looking for enrichment activities and opportunities for their children, particularly if you're prepared to come and share your time, expertise, and maybe even resources with them. They will probably be very glad to hear what you've got to offer them. So don't be worried about that. Look at the eco stuff. Every school will have science curriculum, so growing things is definitely on the science curriculum. Play activities, physical activities, outdoor activities are all really in at the moment. Anything you can do outside, schools are desperately looking for that, because of course it's more COVID safe. So yeah, does that help?
That does help. Thank you, Helen. I just also wanted to add that often I've been asked, who do you contact after school? Because when I contact the office, I don't hear anything back. And I think sometimes we have to remember what the job of different jobs that people have in school. So the office person will be bombarded with emails from the sublime to the ridiculous. So
you need to
paper.
ask for a name.
Yeah. So the best bit is to do your research first, to look at the school website, to have a little Google of the school. Quite often they've been in the local press, particularly if they're doing something like cooking or growing, and you'll be able to maybe pick up a name from there, so that when you email the school, in your subject line, so even if you're emailing the office, in your subject line you could put that it's for the attention of and the teacher's name, and that way you've got a better chance of it getting to the person that you need sooner. I hope that helps.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing is that if you look at the school website, they often list the staff with their job titles and their areas of responsibility. They're usually in a list. And it's much better to send something for the attention of that person, and it'll get to that person. And if that person's changed their areas of responsibility, because sometimes that happens at the end of a year, they'll pass it on to the person who's got the new eco club responsibility or whatever it is. Okay.
And sometimes you can be even more tricky and work out what the email format is for the school, because most schools do first initial and then the surname, either with a dot or not. So if you're seeing the population of emails on a different page, it might be that you could work out what the email address is for that teacher is. However, doesn't always work, particularly not with a school where I'm a governor. Definitely doesn't work. There's no point in trying. Hayley, I'm just reading in the chat that Corinne has said that the council may be able to enter you into their annual allotment prizes. Is that something you're aware of?
No, I've not heard of that, but we don't actually, Get Up and Grow are not based anywhere. We don't have an allotment, we don't have anything. We jump into the community wherever we're actually needed. So we're able to adapt and meet and go to the heart of where the sessions. We've worked in local libraries. I've never had a base, if that makes sense, but yeah, if there's an allotment that we could work on then with something for an allotment competition, that sounds great.
Brilliant, thank you. Neil, I've got a question for you that you might be able to help with. And the question is, how do you sustain relationships with a group when the person that you're in contact with moves on? So I think it's particularly like, a voluntary group in the community and the lead person perhaps has moved on. How do you then keep that connection going?
I think that's, can you see me, everybody? Yeah.
We can, yeah.
I think that's difficult because relationships tend to be between individuals. So that's not always, the connections sometimes disappear when the individual moves on. I think there's another level, I think it's organisational connections, grassroots. So it might be your volunteers connect to another group. So I think there's different levels. There's worker level, there's organisation, and then there's your volunteers. They connect. Those people are working at the coalface. They're the most important. It's not the staff. It's not the trustees. It's the volunteers who are working at the heart of a community. I think that's where you need to probably put more effort, because as you're a worker, you move on. As the trustee moves on, your connections go with you. The people I've been funded in different places by the same people, by the same charitable trust, because they know me. Still have to go through the application process, but it's about that making sure that that local level connection's still there. Cascade out your skills. It's not about I'm the worker, so I've got all the knowledge. Don't keep that knowledge, share it out. Again, cascade it, pass on the skills, develop people, grow people. I think that's so important. I don't know if that answers the question or not, but I think for me that's important.
Yeah, no, it definitely gives us an answer to that question. And I was also thinking, if somebody moves on and they're your key person, that group itself might be reevaluating what they're doing. They might have a change of direction, and that's a good opportunity for you to also sort of say who you are, what you do, and how you benefit the other group by connecting with them. Or it also may be a point where you look at what other groups you could connect with, because that one's not aligned with you anymore.
I also believe that nobody's indispensable. I think grow people up. The organisation that I work for, we have no paid staff. We have self-employed facilitators. My family worker is somebody I grew 10 years ago. We're co-workers. And it's about bringing people on, because, people want to move on. Circumstances change, people move, but we should always be looking at that sustainability. And I think in an age of where there isn't the same amount of funding around, but the biggest asset any organisation has is its people.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Oh, thanks, Neil. Hayley, I've got another question for you, if that's okay. What would be your top tip for connecting communities through growing?
I think it's about bringing people together through whatever ways and means, because everybody has different abilities. So it's about adapting. For example, one of the projects that we're going to do, it's called Carry On Gardening. So it's for older people who may think that they can't do gardening because they can't do the technical stuff or the physical stuff, but really it's about bringing everything there and doing tabletop gardening, doing something small that can go on your windowsill. So it's about connecting people together, knowing that everybody can do something, even if it's just sitting enjoying the social aspects of being part of a group. And that's what I feel is important. Did I answer that?
I think so. Sorry, I was on mute.
I was going to ask a question, but it's a bit between maybe Helen and Hayley. So how do you manage the sort of different seasonality? So you've got school holidays when everything's being grown and harvested. How can you kind of support that through the connection being, a community group in a school, if you have any ideas?
Well, schools by arrangement will carry on working through the school holidays. In fact, because of COVID this year, there's a large body of goodwill, if you like, for schools to carry on doing activities for children, not necessarily lessons, but certainly activities and fun activities, social activities, family activities, all through the school holidays. So, again, I used to run extended services for the whole of the borough, and we used to commission into it. There's not much money for it now, but we used to have a full 6-week offer of activities all through the school holidays, and there's no reason why. That still is continuing in some shape or form. So again, it's finding out who's doing that and how you can tap into that.
Yeah, sorry, I can add to that if that's okay, because I think what's really important with this is any shared space for growing should be shared and added value for everybody to be able to use. A little bit like how when we all worked in offices, everybody used a hot desk, so everybody would share the resources. So people from school could use the allotment to do their little activity when the schools are open, and then people in the community take care of it in the 6-week holidays. So it's always got continuous use, and somebody's going to use it and somebody's going to use the produce. So it's always functioning, it'll always work together. And it's about bringing the community together, isn't it? And that's the whole thing.
Yeah, fantastic. I think that, yeah, asset becomes part of the community, definitely. I've got, is it Corinne? Your hand's up. Would you like to unmute and ask a question?
Hi, oh, just a minute. Oh, I'm not that used to Teams. So, okay. I was just going to say, do you know, people were talking about, you know, growing, sharing. Neil was brilliant, excellent. Yeah. And I was saying that I'm part of an allotment project, and it's evolved into a community allotment, just because we talked to other people and said, come down and see us. And luckily for us, until you talk to people, you won't find out what their skills are. We found someone who in another life was a carpenter, woodworker. So what, at quiet times, because our 2 plots stay open throughout the whole season, you know, winter, spring, summer and everything. The only time we don't go down is when it snows. So what we did was think of what can we do when the growing stopped, and we did a bit of upcycling and recycling, you know, kind of refashioning things into other things. We got some wooden pallets and we made bird boxes and little carry trowels and things. And then people would bring paints and, you know, sit and paint them. And, or, you know, their old plant pots, we just kind of clean them up and tidy them up and things. So if you talk to people, you find out what their skills are, what they want to do and things. And there's a wealth of things, especially in this climate, that you can upcycle, recycle. You know, if you find a couple of people who can knit, you know, they might come down and show another couple of people how to knit. And then you knit little things, you know, to go on the plant pots or that kind of thing. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, thank you for adding that. It's really, yeah, really valuable. Neil, your hand's up as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to really state that we actually are working on a community garden that's on private land for parent and toddler groups, preschool carers, and it's working. We do scavenger hunts. We've also been allocated a raised bed. We planted a load of crocuses last year. Sorry, oh dear, the white flowers that come out in February.
Snowdrops.
Yeah, sorry about that. You tell I'm not a very good gardener. But we use that space as a gathering point when we were allowed the rule of 6. The local authority told us that we weren't allowed to use the local park, so we just asked the community garden, which is on private land, and they said, yeah, come on. So again, it's making use of local resources, and when after May we shall be using that as a weekly or fortnightly preschool and carer community event. So using the outside. So it's again making use of what's there. You don't have to, you know, the third sector is very good at inventing the square wheel. You don't have to do that. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
We're nearly at the end of the session, but I've just seen that Janine's put a question in the chat. So she's got a slot. In fact, Janine, do you want to say it yourself, or shall I just read it out?
Yeah, hiya. Yeah, any advice for anybody with us today? I've got a meeting set with the on the community committee meeting. Now, since the pandemic, it's our area and our schools and stuff. I've had about 5 schools contact me recently with regards to obviously wanting to get them growing. So it's quite overwhelming. So the community committee asked me to join their meeting tonight. Any ideas of what I might put forward to him in terms of any support or anything what anybody else has been going on in their area in terms of any involvement with the local authority? Because I'm one of them ones where I think they expect to hear something. So I'm just wondering if any advice in that department. Has anybody else had any links or talks with their local authority with growing in schools?
One of the things that they'll probably want to do is just to hear what you can offer. So don't go in and promise loads and loads and loads and loads of stuff. Just go in and be very, very clear about what it is you do, what it is you've done in the past, and what it is you might be able to do in the future. Don't go in and wave it, say you can answer all their problems, because you'll be one person, but they'll probably want to hear from a range of other people as well. So, you know, if you want to, you know, even if it's a small thing, keep it realistic. Don't overpromise, because otherwise you'll end up, you know, because at this moment in time, let me tell you now, being outdoors, growing things, doing things collaboratively and cooperatively, all that stuff around developing mental health and social skills and practical outdoor activities is absolutely what schools are wanting, and it's what local, because I work with local authorities as well, it's what local authorities are looking for in terms of what's called out of school provision, you know, extending the school day. And also it's a practical way of delivering science lessons and the science curriculum and all that kind of thing, you know. So you will, if you can offer stuff to schools, you'll be in big demand. So be absolutely clear about what it is you can offer, and make sure you know what boundaries you've got in terms of over-promising, because otherwise, even if they're offering you resources, it might be that they want your expertise rather than your actual physical time. Do you see what I mean? But be clear about what you can offer them. That's my advice.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a bit of a short notice. They only emailed me this morning. I was like, whoa, okay, brilliant. Thanks, Helen. Brilliant, thank you.
I think as well, Janine, just go in and say about the amazing stuff that you were already doing and the project that you're doing in the community around growing at the moment, and tell them about you, and then let it come from them what they're wanting and what they're needing, so that you can then offer within that remit what actually you can do, rather than it being the other way around. If they've invited you to come, you go and tell them about your setup and what you're already doing, and then you can see if you've got the capacity to support them. Cool. And sadly, that is time to wrap up this session. So I really want to, hang on, let me put my video on. I really want to thank the speakers today, who have been amazing. Some fantastic tips, loads of knowledge and experience shared, and I hope everyone who's participated, who's been on the call, has something to take away. Sarah Beth, could you just put the evaluation link in the chat, please? There is a really short evaluation online web form, if you don't mind filling that in for us. That helps us develop these sessions so that they're accessible for everyone, and that we're hitting sort of them at a right level and things like that. So thank you. We hope to see you again on another call. Thank you again to the speakers, and have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Corinne. Take care.
I'm going to end the meeting, SB, and we'll pop on a quick call. Is that okay?
Yeah, all right.
Can you stop the recording?
Oh, yeah. Good.